Hey guys, Dorothy here. Today's tip is all about how to grease a pan. Now you can use this method for greasing cake pans or even for brownies or anything like that. It's just a simple, easy way to grease your cake pans or your brownie pans so that things come out easily from your pan, especially if you're making a layer cake like I am doing today and you want to make all the layers come out easily. There are a few ways that you can grease the pan. The old school traditional way is by using either butter or Crisco shortening with flour. So when you hear a recipe talk about butter and flour your pan, that means to butter it or use Crisco and wipe it all on the inside and then use flour to coat it. That's the way my grandma did it, my mom did it before we had all these new ways of doing things. My favorite way to line a pan is just to use foil. So when I'm making brownies or bars or anything like that, I like to line my pan with aluminum foil because it's easy to lift those out. But whenever you're doing that, you also need to make it non-stick, so I'll use a cooking spray. There are different kinds of cooking spray. I traditionally just use like an oil non-stick cooking spray for all of my bars and that sort of thing. But if I'm making a cake, it's a little different. For a cake, I like using this baking spray that comes with flour in it. So it's non-stick baking spray. Pam makes one. There's all sorts of different brands. All the different brands make them. But this one, the little letters at the bottom of the can say that you make it with flour. It has made with flour in it. So it's kind of like the butter flour method, but it's in a spray instead. So you can also use that if you don't want to use foil. You don't have to. You can use, you're just not going to be able to lift stuff out of the pan. Let's talk about making a layer cake though. If you want to make a layer cake and you want your cakes to easily pop out of your pan, there's a couple different ways you can do it. First, let's take one of our cake pans. This is just a basic 8-inch cake pan. And I'm going to spray it with the non-stick cooking spray made with flour. This is my favorite way of doing it. I do a light spray. And then what I do is I take parchment paper, and to ensure that it comes out easily, I'm going to put the parchment paper on underneath the pan, and then I'm going to rip along the edges of it to make it about the size of a circle that will fit easily in the pan. You don't want to come up too much on the sides because then it could give some dents in the sides of your cake. Once you have something that looks kind of like a circle, it doesn't have to cover the whole piece of it, then I'm going to put it in the bottom of my pan just like this, and then it's going to stick because of what we already have, the spray we already have in there. And then I'm going to, I always put it upside down too. If it's rolling this way, then I put it that side down, that way it won't roll into itself. And then I'm going to spray it again with non-stick cooking spray. And this will just ensure that your cake will come out of the pan easily. So that's the cooking spray method. Let me show you the butter and flour method that I learned from my mom. I'm going to use Crisco today. If you have softened butter, you can use that. You can also just take the stick of butter and run it along the inside of your pan. I take a paper towel. If you're using like a tub of butter or if you're using the shortening, just take a paper towel and get a nice amount of shortening on your paper towel, and then we're going to take the pan and we're going to rub it on the inside of the pan, on the bottom and up the sides. Be especially good with the sides, okay? Because again, I'm going to use parchment. Whenever I make a layer cake, I always use parchment because I'd rather err on the side of it coming out of the pan than it not. Because that's like a bummer, right? You make a whole cake and you want to start frosting it and it doesn't want to come out of the pan. So I have another piece of parchment here. It's just a small piece of parchment. I'm going to put it in and stick it down. It will stick to the shortening that's already in the pan. And then I'm going to run it over a little bit with some more shortening just on top. Okay? And again, you could skip the parchment if you don't have it. You don't have to use it. I just like using it for peace of mind. And then I'm going to take a scoop of flour, doesn't need to be too much, and I'm going to dump it in there, and then I'm going to just shake my pan around. And it's where it's sticky from the flour or the shortening, it's going to stick to the pan. And all the sides and all that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as much as possible, You don't want extra flour in it though, so make sure that you tap it really, really well to get all the excess off, and then that excess goes into the next pan, or you can just dump it in the sink or the garbage. And that's it. That's how you grease and flour a pan for cakes or any kind of baking that you're gonna do.